Boogly, 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 boogly. Hey, this is C.B Smallwood, and you're watching Wildcat Behind the Page, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at the making of the comic book Wildcat, as well as what are my thoughts and well, just what's going on in my life and what I'm generally thinking, that sort of thing. Now, I've done this will be my third take on making this video. I'm sick of it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, too many. Yeah. And the second take, it was perfect. It was good. It was entertaining, and boof, I can't match that. So I'm not even gonna try. Got my handy dandy clipboard. It's got all my little cliff notes on it, and I'm not going to be able to even go through half of this stuff. The first time I did the video, it was an hour long. Second time I did the video, it was like 30 minutes long. So we'll see. Other than that, let's see. I want to put in a quick disclaimer to anybody watching this video. If you want to see the actual artwork in the video, please go ahead and just fast forward to more toward the end, so that way you can save yourself like anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 or 30 minutes worth of mindless drivel, I guess. So for those of you that are still here, thank you, and even thank you to the people that fast forward. It doesn't matter either way, you're all here, so I appreciate it. So what have I been up to? What have I been doing? And all this other stuff. Well, here lately, in the past 4 to 5 days, I've hit a really good spurt of productivity. Okay, and I've been drawing, inking, coloring. I mean, you name it, anything artistic, I've been doing it. And the cool thing is, my art is getting better. My women, the way that I render them, they're looking better. And I'm learning a few new things, such as foliage and stuff of that nature, stuff about nature, as a matter of fact. All that's looking pretty good. And I'm trying to make mental notes as I go along. Sorry, I'm trying to make mental notes as I go along of things that I need to work on, that I need to take the time to sit down and study. And one of those things is chains, off the top of my head. A lot of my chains that I draw are kind of flat and one-dimensional. So I want to change that, and I want them to have more of a rotational effect look to them, I mean, it's okay for when you're drawing a chain for some parts of it to be kind of flat, but you also want to kind of turn it. And I've not been doing that, and it's not that I want to neglect that, it's just that I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to sit down and figure it out at some point, because who knows, if you ever draw a Ghost Rider, ever draw Spawn, Pit, or Wildcat, some point you're going to need to draw some chains. And my chair just keeps flattening down. Hate that. Let's see. So art is coming along pretty good. When I'm at work, I draw on break, and I'm improving there. I pull books out of the library that have images that interest me, and so I try to draw from those books. And I also try to draw a lot from Instagram, from a lot of artists that are far superior than I am, and then whose work inspires me. So I try to sort of like reverse engineer and try to figure out how it is that they do what they do. Speaking of Instagram, I think I'm getting some traffic from Instagram to the channel, which is pretty cool. Now on the back end of YouTube, in the dashboard part, for the content creators, it kind of gives me some analytics about different things, about what are some of the search terms people are looking for on YouTube that brings them to my channel. What are some of the more popular videos and all that other stuff. It says that one of my biggest one of the biggest things that's driving traffic to the channel Well, the top three is just people searching for me, people just kind of clicking around on YouTube, and then third is Facebook. And I don't really do much on Facebook. I mean, I'm on Facebook every day, but as far as like promoting myself, I'm not doing that. I will in the future, eh, when the time is right. But as of right now, I've not been doing it. So I'm assuming that when YouTube is saying Facebook, they actually mean Instagram because, correct me if I'm wrong, Facebook owns Instagram. Um, I think I am getting some Instagram traffic. I could be wrong. If you guys are here watching this video now that are from Instagram, I'm glad that you're here. I hope you stick around. If not, no hard feelings, you know. Um, Speaking of Instagram, uh, there's an interesting phenomena that I noticed. You know, it seems like on Instagram I will gain like 2 to 3 followers, and then I will lose 2 to 3 followers a couple days later. And the only thing I can figure out is like, is there like an unspoken rule on Instagram where you have to do a like for a like? You know, it's like this thing that's on YouTube. It used to be on VidMe before VidMe blew up, and a couple other platforms where people try to support each other by liking each other's channels or subscribing or following or whatever. And you know, is Instagram like that? Is that how? Is that kind of like an unspoken thing on Instagram? Um, Now on Instagram, a lot of the stuff that I like or follow on Instagram is stuff that I really like. I really enjoy. You know, people that are really good, and and honestly, I don't expect those people to follow me back. I'm just fans of their work, and 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 I'm just, you know, I'm just trying to Frankenstein their stuff and incorporate it into mine, and I just like looking at their art too, you know. So there's different reasons why, you know, I follow people on Instagram. So it's kind of interesting, you know. And the I'm losing train of thought, but what I'm trying to say is, uh, you know, I'll gain like 2 or 3 followers, and then they'll leave a couple days later. And I think it's because I don't follow everybody that follows me. And is that bad of me to do that? Am I being a bit of a turd for not following every single person that follows me? Should I follow everybody that follows me? I mean, there's people. I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. I'm trying to re-examine that policy. You know, something that I've learned from experience, from seriously doing YouTube, and then previously VidMe, and a couple other things, seriously for like a year or a year and a half, is the like for like business. It does get you a little bit more traffic, but at the end of the day, a lot of those people don't stick around and they don't watch your videos. Um, it just doesn't work. I mean, I think it's worth it if you can get at least one person out of like all the other likes that or subscribers or followers, whatever, you know. If you just get one more extra person that's gonna watch or participate in your stuff, that's cool, you know. I think it's worth it for that. But at the end of the day, you know, the gains of it is very minimal, you know. And I'm just kind of curious, is Instagram like that? Is there an unspoken rule where everybody expects everybody to follow one another? So, I don't know. So, moving on from that, and I'm sorry if I bored you all, but I want to talk about lettering. Lettering. Lettering! Um, all right, lettering. Okay. So, I think I'm going to letter my comic book myself because I've been doing some investigating and stuff like that. You know, I've been putting on my Sherlock Holmes hat and the spyglass and all this other stuff, and I've been really digging into how I can make that possible on my own. You know, without you know, hiring people to do it for me. And I found 2 lettering programs. One is called Comic Life 3 by Plask. Plask is the company that makes it. Comic Life 3. And the other one is Comic Creator Studio, and that is made by Summit Soft, I believe. Now, I could be wrong about these names and stuff because it's off the top of my head. Now, both of these programs are $30, like $29.99, but we'll say $30. And they both are very similar, I think, in what they can do. But the difference between the two programs is Comic Life 3, they have a 30-day free trial period. And the Comic Creator Studio does not, as far as I know. I could be wrong about that. So I downloaded the free trial, and there was a bit of a learning curve. There's always a bit of a learning curve anytime you do something new or try new software or whatever. And it took me about an hour to play around with it to get the gist of it. The first 30 minutes is like figuring out what all the buttons do, and I still haven't figured it all out. And I was having difficulty trying to import like my images into the thing. And I still have some questions about that, but overall, once I got kind of that idea figured out, and it came time to actual letter with the program, all you do is you can click a word balloon, a thought balloon, a dialogue box, or like an excitement balloon box. It's got the jagged edges. You click on one of those, drag it, and then drop it on the image, right, anywhere. And then you click in the middle of it, and you start to type. And then you got your word balloon. And then you click it again, and then you figure out where you want the tail on the word balloon to go. And you can also, I haven't figured out this part, but I know you can do it. You can connect word balloons to make them, you've seen the effect, word balloon, word balloon, word balloon. You can do that. And it's very easy. It's just like click, type, click, click, And within 30 minutes, I lettered the crap out of like this page that I had colored, just for the heck of it, to see what it looked like. And another cool thing about Comic Life 3 is it does import your own fonts. So there's a lot of fonts that I've downloaded over the years on the internet that I found that I liked. And so it does recognize those, and you can use those in Comic Life 3. So that's pretty cool. It does have sound effects, so that's neat as well. And it also has a lot of other effects because both Comic Life 3 and Comic Creator Studio, both of these programs are made to make comics all together. So that I believe that they have, they can frame up the panels. You can do like the screen tones, the old school dots found in a lot of old comics. You can do those. You can do all kinds of stuff, but I really don't care about that stuff for the most part. I mainly just wanted to get a program that would allow me to letter a comic book easily without having to do like 10 extra steps. As far as I know, there's only 3 or 4 steps to put a single word balloon on a panel, and it only takes, it depends on how fast you type, but it probably only takes like 20 seconds or 30 seconds per word balloon, depending on how quick you are, or less than that, really. And that's pretty good. So I recommend, as of right now, trying Comic Life 3 by Plask, Plasq. Moving on from that, something else that I've done is I dug out an old Wildcat drawing. I was in the mood for some nostalgia, so what I did was, well, it wasn't just a mood of nostalgia, but I also wanted to kind of preserve it. So, a bit of a backstory on this. Way back in elementary school, I came up with the coolest, the bestest drawing of all time of Wildcat. Wildcat had went through many evolutions of who he was in the beginning and all the way up to today, you know. But up to that point, he kind of had a more of a like a Spider-Man-ish like look, well, minus the webbing, and he had things that popped out of his hands like chains or something, you know. But all that changed when I did this drawing back in December of 1995. So in December of 1995, if me, Doc Brown, and Marty McFly were to take the DeLorean and go back to that time period in that month, and we would eventually see, you know, my prized possession, which was this sketch pad paper where I drew Wildcat, and he's got like these leather duds on and straps and like a metal shoulder pads and like a metal gauntlet looking thing and like a crouch protector with a skull on it and like the strapped up boot on one leg and then like on this other leg like a Spawn spike boot and then spikes here and there, and then it just, you know, he looked like he's from a I guess a dystopian apocalyptic looking future, you know. It's really cool, and I never could replicate the coolness of that years later, you know. I tried, but anyway, so I wanted to dig that drawing out to look at it, but also to take pictures of it with my phone so that way I have copies. You know, that's always bothered me, so I have these copies now on my phone, and you know, I'm just going to kind of disperse them out into the world, you know, on the internet eventually. But another cool thing is when I was young in elementary school and stuff, and I had this awesome drawing of Wildcat. I collected baseball and basketball cards, and at the time there was I think a basketball player for the Kentucky Wildcats by the name of Jamal Mashburn. I could be wrong about that. And Jamal was hot stuff. You know, he was the dude. You know, he was the main guy. He was on everybody's mind, you know. And he even had his own theme song, which was the Monster Mash. And so I had a Jamal Mashburn Rookie of the Year or whatever basketball card, right? And the irony of all this is I'm not even into basketball or baseball. You know, I don't mind to play them with friends, like close friends, but as far as like watching them and following, you know, who does what and stuff, that's not really me. And I don't know how I ended up collecting baseball and basketball cards in the first place. I'm just a collector of things, you know. But yeah, I did back then. I used to collect. So anyway, a kid at school comes up to me, and I guess the conversation just naturally evolved to where I was talking about my Wildcat drawing and stuff like that. And he's like, I got a brother who works for this company that makes cards, and he's got like his computer and this machine, and we can make a card of Wildcat. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Well, that's awesome. I remember the excitement and the thrill of I'm going to get a Wildcat trading card. Oh, I was so pumped. And I'm not really for sure because my memory is like crap, but like I believe part of that deal was he wanted that Jamal Mashburn trading card. Now, I consulted my trade and legal expert, my mommy, about this deal, and she was against it, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, some things just didn't line up. It kind of fell through because the guy was full of crap, obviously, you know, in the particular area that I live at. It's very doubtful he had a brother working at some company that makes trading cards and stuff like that. And really it was just a scam to get my Jamal Mashburn card, you know. But, you know, the memory of that is still with me. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get that old Wildcat drawing, and I'm going to turn it into a trading card. I'm going to find somebody online that can make trading cards, and they're going to make me a trading card of that Wildcat thing. And it shouldn't be that expensive, you know, it's just one card, You know, I can do all the graphics, you know, the design of the front and back of it. All they have to do is just like print it or whatever. Or maybe I can just print it and cut it out myself. But either way, I'm going to have that card. And I'm going to do it for young Brian. For Brian back in 1995 that really wanted a Wildcat training card. So for him, I'm going to make this card. Unfortunately, I'm going to be the one that ends up with it. He won't get to see it, but in honor of young C.B Smallwood, that card's going to happen. Okay. Something else. What time I'm looking at my handy dandy what is this? Clipboard. Let's actually talking about something else about Wildcat that I think may interest you. Those of you that are still with me. I've been really busy. I've been a busy bee these past couple of days, but it was not always this, not always so, you know. If you've watched the past couple of episodes, I'm sure you're aware by now that I was working on a Hapkido comic book about the life of the founder, Che Young-sul. And like what ended up happening is I had a mental block and my brain just shut down and I couldn't do anything. And the reason is like I'm so emotionally invested. I'm emotionally invested in both projects, but I'm emotionally invested in Wildcat. You know, I've got this Wildcat Behind the Page video series. I did the 100 Days of Making Comics with, you know, working on the first issue of Wildcat. You know, I'm talking about making this trading card. And you know, I've kind of plotted out roughly how the first 10 issues could go. And I'm putting a lot of work and effort into it. And I don't know. And I'm a little over halfway done inking the first issue. And I could taste it. It's almost there. It's reality. It's getting real. And I don't know. It's like heartbreaking to pull myself away from that to work on something else. And it's just this Hapkido comic book is like an opportunity that just kind of like fell into my lap, you know, kind of out of nowhere. And like, you know, I've been wanting to write a book about Hapkido, about the history of Hapkido, and write about Che Young-sul and all this other stuff. And this already kind of fits into that. So it seems like a natural thing. And I've already went into the pros and cons and all this other stuff in previous videos of why I'm doing this project. So what ended up happening is my brain just shut down because I wasn't working on Wildcat. I really wanted to work on Wildcat, you know, and make that #1 priority. And so I ended up not drawing anything, not inking anything, not drawing anything, blah, 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 blah. Well, the deadline got to be crunch time with the deadline with the Hapkido thing. And so eventually it snapped me out of my, I was going to say delirium, but it snapped me out of my funk, okay? And so I sat down and I churned out like 3 pages of the Hapkido comic, okay? And we'll take a look at those pages later on in the video as well, okay? But I turned out 3 pages of that, and I think they look pretty good. I'm not going to say that they're mind-blowingly awesome or anything like that. I'm not trying to put down my art either, but there are some things in those pages where I stepped up my art, and, you know, some things, you know, more like what you're accustomed to seeing from me. So you'll see. But it has kind of hurt the progress of the inks on Wildcat. But in the past 2 days, I've been amping up the inks. You know, I got 1 page inked of Wildcat, which is page 11, and I'm halfway done inking. I'm about 70% done inking page 12, I think. So making progress on that, making up for lost time. In other news, since we're talking about Wildcat, I've also been thinking about the second issue in terms of reference. So there's a story that I'm going to do in the second issue that requires a lot of GUNs. And I don't want to say that out loud because I guess it really doesn't matter because I don't make money from my videos anyway. You know, I'm not eligible to be monetized. But YouTube has this weird new policy where firearms and that sort of thing is probably no longer welcomed. I haven't looked at the new policy, but I'm pretty sure it's just going to be anti-gun, so anti-GUN. But anyway, and besides fears of monetization, which is irrelevant for me, I want my videos to be seen, and they will actually suppress videos that they don't like now. So that's like a new thing they're doing. But I bought a couple of toys. YouTube, bought some toys. And this might have been like either $10 or $15, and then the other one, I like the way this one sounds better. Bought myself some toys, and I'm going to use those for reference for the next issue. And I kind of like to buy actually a couple extra toy guns to use for reference, and that way I can take pictures of myself or somebody else holding the guns in the pose that I want, and so that way I get the pose that I want, and there's really no excuse for me not to do a good job, And so that's what I want to do. I want to do a good job. I mean, a lot of times when I draw stuff, I try to do my best, and sometimes I know my best is not good enough. But and for the sake of making progress and finishing things, I move on. But that's not to say, as I move on, that I don't put more pressure on myself to do better than I did before. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do better. And I think I am doing better. My art, like I said, I think at the beginning of this video, it's just, my art keeps getting better. Not so much in the perspective. I don't know what this means, but not so much in the perspective. But that's just because I haven't really sat down and tried to figure it out yet. So I'll do that later on when the time is right. Right now, I can sort of cheat by just using my crappy 1-point perspectives. Besides that, I think I pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. I got my clipboard here looking at it. The last thing that I want to cover is, well, the last two things is Mental Junk Food series. I think it's doing fairly well. I think people's enjoying it overall, and I'm glad that you are. And surprisingly, I had two videos. One was like 30 minutes long on most of it, and then the other one was like 40 minutes long. And I really didn't expect to get much views on those, and I really didn't in the beginning. Like, there was like 0 views for the first 2 or 3 days that those videos were up. And now they're up, and each video is almost has 50 views as of this posting. So that's pretty good for my channel. Other people's channels, that might be, something to laugh and scoff at. But as far as like my channel, it's pretty good for me. My videos usually average from 20 to 30 views. And to get like videos that get 50 views is pretty nice. Pretty nice. So, that aside, Mental Junk Food is doing fairly well. I'm trying to streamline things, figure out ways to churn out videos more quicker, but maintain some type of quality, But we'll see, And I got another video series that's going to come out, and I just have to sit down and work on stuff, and I don't want to get into that just yet. You'll see it eventually. The last thing I want to talk about is a story. I want to talk about a story. I've been debating internally of should I tell the story or not, and so I'm going to pose the question to you. Basically, at work, at the job I work at, I've told this story, and everybody really enjoyed it. It is the story of when I almost drowned in water. Yeah, it's the time I almost killed myself. Not on purpose, but I almost drowned. Went down with the ship, and but I kind of felt weird including that story in this video because it's kind of out of the blue. I guess a lot of my topics that I talk about, a lot of things that I talk about is kind of out of the blue, but it's an entertaining story, and I thought it'd be something that you guys might like to hear. So, if you're interested and curious about this, Let me know in the comment section down below if you want to hear that story. And I'm not saying that to bait people, B-A-I-T, or anything like that. I'm being very sincere. I just want to know if you want to hear the story or not, you know, because it's kind of like odd, I guess. And I will let you know if you do. Some of the language is kind of crude in it, but like, you know, got to be accurate with the story. And So, all right, we're done with the talking part of this video. Let's wrap this up. Let's actually get to the bread and butter of this video. And let's go look at some artwork to see what I have and have not done. Okay, so here we are at the handy dandy artboard, and I tell you what, I've had to reshoot video and reshoot video. It's either camera problems or me not working my phone right or whatever. I'm sure you all don't want to hear that, but I just want to say that. It's been 2 days of me just trying to make this one single video. It's ridiculous. But anyway, before I get started, what I want to show you first is the roughs for the Hapkido comic. And I figured we'd get the Hapkido comic book out of the way. And I kind of wanted to show it, you know, to show you guys what I have been working on the side before I get to the main course, which is the Wildcat pages that I'm inking. So with that out of the way, let's start first with the Hapkido roughs. And here on the Hapkido roughs, you know, we got an old guy, old Korea there, and some more old Korea stuff, right? Then we get to this second page, and you know, more of the same, except for somebody's being kidnapped in this scenario. And then we get to the bottom where there's like a dock and stuff. So I went and transferred these ideas to big 11 by 17 papers. So let's check out and see what I've done, right? This is what I've done here. Let me zoom in, let you get a gander at a few things. Okay, then we got this bottom panel here. Let me zoom out a little bit. This is actually like a stack of sticks or a pile of hay or whatever, you know. And I didn't bother rendering this like super well because I figured if I ink this, I will fix it in the inking stage. I felt it's kind of unnecessary to put that much effort in that, you know. And this wheel's a little lopsided, but I was trying to hurry so I can fix that wheel in like 3 seconds. I got a little, this little cutout. Well, I'll show you. I got it sitting right next to me. I got this little cutout thing, and I can just, I could just throw it over the wheel and then fix the wheel that way, you know. So it ain't no big deal, you know. It just takes like 3 seconds, and I'm done, right? So that's page 1 of Hapkido, and the second page. And I've been stepping up my art game, as I said before. Now, for some of you looking at this, like, oh, but, you know, CB, you know, doesn't look like you have that much. Well, my rebuttal to that is these bushes. This is a new technique that I've employed with doing bushes, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Probably did a little bit more leaves than what I may have actually needed to do, but I think it looks pretty good. And you know, here's this dude, you know. Then it takes us to this panel, some more leaves, and there's something kind of out of perspective here, and I don't want to point it out. If you can't see it, then I'm not going to mention it. It's just going to be my secret. And we're down to this last panel here. There we go. I thought this turned out pretty good. I'm really happy with the face and the way the hair's going to the side, and how the hand is grabbing the cloth and it's doing this business. I feel like I captured a little unfortunate Kodak moment, you know. So I'm happy with that, you know. So yeah, pretty good little page there. And then that brings us to this big splash page of awesomeness. Okay, and kind of zoom in, I guess, and let you take a gander at the details. But, you know, like I said before, I'm really trying to step up my game here. And now, I will say that this walkway, maybe even the ship itself, is a little bit out of perspective. But I think it's in perspective enough to where the illusion of perspective is still allowed, you know, even though it's a little warped. And yeah, I'm happy with this. So if I were to lay all these out, kind of like side by side. Right. Sorry that the camera's blurry. Technical difficulties. All right. Now let's get to the ink pages that I've been working on here. So with the ink pages, I'm a little annoyed at the textures of the blacks on the ground. I think what it is that I'm not shaking up the India ink before, you know, ink stuff, and maybe there's like these loose particles that's not being dispersed properly in the liquid, you know, in the ink. In theory, I'm thinking that maybe Black India ink is sort of like a bottle of Yoo-hoo. It's always got that brown debris in the bottom, so it's always recommended to shake your bottle of Yoo-hoo, you know. Well, maybe ink is sort of like it too. I don't know. That's just my theory, because I don't like the inconsistency of the blacks. Like, this is really black, but this is a much lighter shade. Now, there are times when I do intend to do different textures of shading with blacks, but I kind of had in mind more of an absolute black with this background. But for the most part, I don't mind, because if I go to photocopy it, it should make everything black, you know. And I don't think it looks that horrible with the different textures, but it really wasn't what I had in mind. Then we come to the second panel. A lot of wonky anatomical issues. It still looks, you know, all right. I need to do better, though. And here's my one-dimensional chain a little bit, and I need to work on that. The bottom two panels are cool, and they're not cool. And what I mean is, like, you know, there's, you know, Wildcat kind of looks cool here. The trees, this tree limb is pretty boss looking. But what's not cool is the anatomical perspectives are a little off, you know. Wildcat in perspective of these guys. And then I cheated, and I drew a bunch of lines, and I tried to draw a bunch of tree limbs to cover up my lack of knowledge there. And then we get to this bottom panel, and then here's this, knocking this guy into the tree. Pretty happy with this overall. But the only bad thing is I need to put like a kapow or something in there, something to show that this fist isn't just sitting there and he just didn't magically throw himself into the tree himself. It probably would have been better just to draw Wildcat in the foreground with his arm already swung, so that way you get the impression that he's knocked him into the tree. But yeah, so that's this page. Moving on to the next page, I've started inking. I think this has turned out fairly good. There's questions of where the light source is coming from. It seems to be coming from right in here, at that angle, like coming down. It looks cool, and then I also have questions about, is that how the light should pour on his face, and is that too much or too little? I don't know, but it was an experiment. I could have just like shaded everything with a bunch of tight lines, and I could have got away with that because it looked good penciled that way. But I figured I would try to just ink everything in the absolute black and try that as well. Let's see, which that brings us to these next two panels. This one's pretty good. I'm happy with this overall, and have no complaints about this panel and then the cha-chink, and kind of get the gist of what's going on, I believe. And then we get to this really cool looking panel. Getting the sniffles here, but my only problems with this panel here is these things right here. Originally they were kind of like all over the page, but now you can only see like 3, 1, 2, and this one's hidden behind the hair. So maybe I'll wipe these on out. I don't know, but it still looks cool, and I really like the energy of this. This is really neat. And then we got the bottom 2 panels, which I have not inked yet. Haven't got to it. I've started on this one, working my way over. I will say that I've developed more discipline as far as my inking goes, because I'm a guy that likes to hop from here to there, here to there. So what I'm trying to do is, and I've done this for the last 3 to 4 pages of Wildcat, is I will make sure that I ink one panel before I move on to the next. And that's normally not how I do things. I kind of just ink here and there, here and there, here and there. But I think mentally it makes me feel better seeing something fully completed inked as far as like a panel, and then moving on to the next panel. So I'm getting more accustomed to doing that, and that's something else that's kind of cool. So that's pretty much it. The only other things that I have to say is I really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch these videos. And in the future, I plan on either building or buying some type of weird tripod thing to put my my phone on, so that I can record me drawing stuff. Now, right now, the tripod that I have sits on the actual art desk, so it's kind of in my way. So I'd like to have something built or something bought that I can attach to the side of my art desk that will allow me to have more free range of motion to actually, draw and not have to worry about shaking or bumping the camera, So I'm going to do that, so that way I can go back to actually, drawing stuff on camera again. Because I think some people that are not artistically inclined, or let me rephrase that. I think most people that watch that most people would like to see the process of the comic book actually getting made, I believe, in theory, as opposed to like, me doing updates of like what I've done and not done. So sometime in the future, not immediate future, but in the future, I'm going to get a rig set up so I can film myself drawing stuff. And last thing is, like as I mentioned before, If you guys want to hear me talk about my drowning story, be sure to let me know in the comments section down below, okay? As always, much love to you all. Please remember to... where's my zoom in function here? There it is. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow to be kept up to all my latest shenanigans. And I will see you all in the next video.